So there are graves here in this old cemetery. It's supposed to be one of the spookiest places in Alabama, and very haunted according to a certain hippie. It may very well be haunted, but I might not be able to see the haunted things. This is pretty sweet though. I can't read anything on this, but it is definitely old. And this gravestone says, "My mother." This one says, I can't tell what this says. "Sacred to the memory of Susan J." Boy, I can't tell what all that says. It's February 27th of 1869. My lighting is awfully spooky. This flag is spooky. Very spooky. This one says, born March 6, 1824, died July 28, 1870. Look at this ornate gate, though. This one just says, "My wife." Well, his wife was obviously important. And this one says things I can't read. And this one doesn't seem to have a lot of details on it. This looks like another Confederate soldier, kind of like one of my other videos. You guys want to see something really spooky? Well, it's hard to see, but this looks like a daycare. That's one of the spookiest things I can think of. This is an unknown Confederate soldier. That's reminiscent of a previous video as well. Also an unknown Confederate soldier. I can't tell what that one says, you guys. I can't read these ones either, you guys. I think that's the top of that part. Here's the old Union Springs Public Library. It looks like a pretty cool old building. By the way, I guess I'm in Union Springs, Alabama. And oddly enough, it's closed at this hour. Tax dollars hard at work? I don't think so. Watching my other videos, you do know I like architecture, and this church, I believe, does seem to have some pretty awesome architecture. It is a church. It's the First Baptist Church of Union Springs, Alabama. I would have pegged this for a Catholic church, so that is spooky, isn't it? If you want to visit, here is when the next Bible study will begin. This place over here looks pretty old. I would definitely say that building looks like it's been around for a while. And this China buffet next door is an interesting looking place. I would have taken this for an old-timey saloon. But over here, it looks like you can get your church supplies, you can get your fashion and hair done, and you can get your Verizon service set up. And that right there is some one-stop shopping at 120 North Prairie Street. Here, it's a pretty cool looking mural. Of course, it says Union Springs, Alabama, and it says circa 1948 North Prairie Street. So this is Prairie Street, apparently. And apparently it used to be pretty booming down here. Still seems to be kind of booming. I mean, there is a Napa Auto Parts here. And this street seems to go on for a ways. So, unfortunately for you, this video might go on for a ways. Here, in the middle of Prairie Street in Union Springs, Alabama, stands a statue of a very cool looking dog. A pretty fancy statuary. They do have these handy little listen and learn placards. They had one by the church that talk about you being able to call in and listen to more information about the goings-on of Prairie Street in this here Alabama city. There is another pretty cool looking mural over here of some hunting dogs. Some pheasants, I think. I mean, who wouldn't love that face? So you guys know, Hippie did say to me on our way over here if I got too scared that I could say I wanted to go back to the truck. But so far the scariest thing I've seen is no bathroom. So right here is Bullitt County Courthouse Historic District. And right here is the courthouse. It is pretty massive. And it's pretty fancy. I do like the architecture here. These buildings just kind of keep on going and going on Prairie Street. They all seem to be mostly occupied by current day businesses. And I guess that's probably a pretty good thing for this part of Alabama, that even after all these years, they're keeping things going out here. And it's got some pretty historical looking buildings that they've managed to keep up for quite a long time, it seems like. Kind of reminds me of downtown Boise, Idaho. Pictures from before all of the constant renovation occurred. You can go to downtown Boise, Idaho and still see some pretty old buildings and architecturally cool looking things, but it's been renovated so many times because it's such a big part of regular Boise culture still today that you don't really necessarily get this old ghost towny feel about it anymore. You guys, this has not been very spoopy, but it is kind of cool, and it is nice to get outside of the truck and walk around, see some historical things in a town that I would have never been to had it not been for being stuck in a truck most of the time. And hearing a little bit of history from the hippie who knows a lot more about this place than I do. But just seeing how an old downtown looks nowadays that's different from the old downtown I grew up with. It's pretty cool. I have not talked to anyone from this town because, as you guys can see, this town is mostly asleep right now. But it's been a fun little adventure. If I see any ghosts, I will try to hit the record button again. So here's the old jailhouse. As you can see, this is probably the spookiest thing so far on this little journey. Definitely has some creep factor to it. Apparently, there was a lot of, well, activities that happened at jailhouses in the old days, you know, putting people to death and such. But it does have a spooky way about it. Along the lines of architecture, I do love stained glass and old stained glass. I don't know anything about this stained glass here, and you probably can't really see it, but it looks like it's pretty awesome. And it does look pretty old. Now, if this ain't spooky, I don't know what is. Look at that. Super spooky, you guys. It's a nomadic hippie. This building here is very cool. There is some really neat stained glass here. Pretty old looking architecture, I'd say. It says Trinity Church, erected to the glory of God, Anno Domini 1909.